obviously, when you fought in Salt Lake and all these fights, there was always an Australia card coming up, and we would ask you like, do you want to get on that Australia card? It never seemed overly important to you to fight in Australia because you did that before you got to the UFC. So when they called you to, fight on a pay-per-view in Sydney, were you hesitant at all, or were you just like, yeah, I'll fight at home again?
No, if it ever lined up, if it had lined up earlier in the last few years to fight in Australia, I would have done that. But look, I mean, it's sort of a double-edged sword for me. I can come and watch a UFC for once and enjoy it, and hang out with the fans, and fight overseas and chase the bigger opponents. And that's what I was told when I was younger. Many years ago, when I first got into the UFC, Sean Shelby said, "Look, you've had a few fights in Australia now. If you want to chase these bigger name guys, they're not gonna come to you. You have to go to them." So I kind of took that advice, and yeah, that's when I started heading overseas for the last 5 years, trying to. And, I've fought a couple of big name guys and got into the point where one of us are going to get to the top 15. Obviously, I've dropped the ball a few times on that, but I mean, I got into the UFC when I was 19, so it's just one big learning curve, trying to learn on the job. And now I'm 30, I feel like now's the time to start pushing and climbing the ranks. And it is good to be back in Australia, to be honest. So.
Does it feel weird that we've basically seen you grow up on such a massive stage?
I mean, it's weird because I feel like an old man in UFC years. Like, it's like dog years. Like UFC years, I'm an old man, I'm a vet, but I only just turned 30 last year and really like just starting to hit that peak now. And I do feel that physically and mentally. It is true when they say in your 30s you start to peak.
What did you make of Francisco's name when his name came across your desk on the contract?
Yeah, to be honest, I hadn't heard his name before. I do remember watching his fight with Jamie Malarkey. Yeah, I mean, we just it's one of those fights. I haven't really. I won my last fight. I was hoping to get a higher ranked opponent, but the opportunity came up to fight early in the year, and I do want to have an active year. So I said, we'll get this fight in, and we don't look past anyone. If you're in the UFC, you're tough. That's it. End of story. So we're going to this fight like it's any other opponent, and just hoping to kickstart the year off, and just have an active year in the next 12 months. Three, maybe 4 fights, hopefully.
We saw some videos of you training with some Dagestani and Chechnyan wrestlers. What was that experience like?
It was good. Yeah, I think. They saw me in the jiu-jitsu class, and they're like, "Oh, we think this guy can wrestle." So they invited me to a Russian only class, and they were pretty happy, and it reinforced to me like I can hang with these guys in the wrestling. So it was good. They were lovely guys. I was trying to see if I could get an invite to go to Dagestan or Russia, but not yet. But one day maybe.
And I have to, unrelated to this fight, but on your Instagram you post a lot of, like this is your pre-workouts, usually like fruit and salt and honey. But there's a video where you just ripped into a banana without peeling it, like peeling everything. So what's the deal? Why?
Yeah, the banana was a bit of a piss take. But no, it started. I ate a mango. Like that's how I eat mango, like as an apple. I just eat through the skin. I enjoy it, and a cliche, but the nutrients are in the skin, to be honest. But yeah, it started from there. It blew their minds that I was eating the skin of a mango. And to be honest, I post training content. It gets good response, gets good likes. And I put up a video of me eating a mango skin, and it almost went viral borderline. And I was just like, I don't understand Instagram. I don't understand what people's interests are, but I'm going to run with it. So I just started eating every kind of fruit with the skin on, and it's just sort of caught on. Now people send me videos of them eating fruit with the skin on.
See what you've done.
It's insane. Yeah, I've started a whole movement.
And just last one for me. How's Jake Breaks been? Jake's Breaks.
Yeah, it's good. Obviously, I go a little bit quieter coming into a fight, but I love it. I found a natural love for the trading card hobby, and we've turned it into a business. But it's still a hobby, to be honest. We just have good fun with our group of guys at Break. We reinvest the money into good stock, and we don't keep the cards. They're not our cards. They're the guys that buy in. But we just enjoy just seeing what's next. Like that's the whole thing about the trading card. You don't know what you're going to pull next, and we love it, and it's a laugh. And I mean the wives probably don't like us being out to 4 a.m. at night breaking cards, but it's good fun.
What was it like working with Shannon Briggs? Is he as over the top as we see on video?
Honestly, when we had a video call for about an hour and a half, and he's pretty chill, actually, to be honest. He's pretty chill. But man, he wants to come out to Australia. Wants us to bring him out. So he actually wanted to try and maybe corner me for this fight. We were trying to get him out, and he's going to come train me and corner me. And a little bit of let's go champ before we fight.
He's just the hype guy.
Yeah, that's it, yeah.
Jake, back here.
Yep.
You were in town for UFC Perth, but you weren't booked. Now that you have got a fight, there was some frustration when you weren't on that card. Is there now almost a sense of relief of like, okay, cool, I have the fight. I actually can go out there and perform?
For this card in particular?
Yes.
Yeah, we didn't really know what was going on. We were waiting to get a match-up. We had a match-up with another fighter for about 24 hours, and then he ended up having to pull out. And then we're sort of in limbo again for a couple of weeks. And I was getting to the point where I was like, I probably won't get a match-up for this card because it's in Australia. It's starting to, 4 or 5 weeks out from the fight. But we locked in a fight. And, yeah, it was good relief to be able to get a fight because I just for the fact that I want to start the year early and get the ball rolling for 2025.
You've always trained with high-level guys, but 2 of your training partners are also going to be on this card. What is that like in a camp when you've got 3 people peaking for such high-level fights?
It's good. Like we all have our own schedules and training partners, and we have some coaches in common, but also separate coaches as well. So it just adds an element of a bit of a team feel, kind of like when I had I was playing football back in the day. Once we're in there, we're on our own, but going through a training camp together, it does just give that extra bit of motivation and enjoyment to the camp. And then during the fight week as well, like I said, it's like we're rocking up with the team almost. And a bit of familiarity during fight week. Usually, like we go overseas to obscure places like Salt Lake City in Utah, and we don't know anyone else there. It's just me, a couple of cornermen, and that's it. So to have a lot of familiar faces around fight week, it's good.
And you touched on before about that feeling of being a UFC veteran. One of those 2 teammates, John McAuliffe, is making his UFC debut. Has there been any words of wisdom you've shared to him?
Nah, Jono's pretty locked in, to be honest. You know what I mean? I don't like to impose on anyone's training or their career, or if these guys know that I've been here for a long time. So if they want to come and ask any questions, I'm an open book. I'll give as much knowledge to anyone as I can to try and help them in their career. But Jono's pretty locked in. Like, it's his UFC debut, but he's been training and fighting for quite a while now. So it seems like he's got it pretty dialed in.
Very much.
And Jake, to your left. Just sort of wanted to ask you, you've been around for 10 years. Do you feel like the public doesn't give you as much sort of attention, like you're not as shiny as the newer debutants, and do you prefer that?
Yeah, I mean, look, I kind of do prefer it. It's weird. It's like you feel like you maybe deserve a little bit more attention, but at the same time, I don't want it. Sometimes I look at these champs and I'm like, man, would I ever want to have the belt? Just the amount of like attention and media that these guys have to do. I can imagine it'd be quite tiring. You'd have to really love it. Like, I know of like Sean Strickland, for example. I actually think he loves the media and doing all the collaborations. For me, I like to have quiet fight weeks and quiet fight camps. But back to your question, it's kind of on me. You know what I mean? Like there's fights where I could have performed better. There's times where I could have been more active or done, like I just said, done better in fights in general to get that attention. So it's been a roller coaster. I've been here for a long time. And when these new guys come in, they're the flavour of the month. I'm the vet who's been here for a long time. So when these new guys come in and they go on their, couple of fight win streak, I know they're going to be the centre of attention. And I'm fine with that. I'm fine with that, to be honest. I just like to cruise under the radar, do my thing, get paid, put food on the table. And, I just have one goal, and that's to show people my potential. And with that should come wins and rankings and everything else.
And I just wanted to touch base on, could you have really made the AFL with those Aussie rules skills you had as a kid?
Yeah, 100%. I was 100% getting drafted, and I still have people today that are not happy that I pulled the pin on footy, but I think I definitely made the right decision. I was playing representative level footy, did a little stint in the TAC, and I don't know what team I would have played for. I would like to think Hawthorn. Don't hold it against me, but I definitely could have made AFL.
That's right.
Dark Side of the Cage recently came out with a documentary on Diego Sanchez, and I think you'd fought him. I think it was UFC 253, right? The fight week, like, did you ever have any experiences? Because we've seen the documentary, and it's really sad to see how it turned out with Diego Sanchez and obviously Joshua Fabia. Like, have you seen the documentary, and do you have any stories from that fight week of just like weird experiences? Because I think it was that week where the guy kind of crashed out on everybody during that fight week, right?
Yeah, the fight week, we were up at the pool and stuff, both teams together, and we just said hello to each other. It seemed all good. I got a message from Diego after the fight, and he goes, "Oh, thanks for the fight." He goes, "Look, I didn't want to fight you because we actually trained together back in Albuquerque." So I think that's what he was getting at. He was saying like, like I knew you when you were a kid. I didn't want to fight you, but the UFC kind of said like you have to fight Jake. So that was a little bit odd. Yeah, instant bad buzz around that Fabio guy. Didn't like him from the first time I met him, and then obviously we've seen why now. And Diego's good though. Diego still stays in touch, and I've had a couple of close decision losses recently, and like he's trying to call me on Instagram, and he's like, "You won that fight, man. I've got to tell you something, a secret." And I'm like, I don't really want to like entertain that. I'm like, "You're acting a bit weird, bro." So I'll just leave it. But yeah, honestly, like when I fought Diego afterwards, like leading into the fight, it was exciting because this is a guy. Like I was in the lounge room and I was like 11 years old watching him win Ultimate Fighter, and to fight him was very exciting. But then after the fight, I kind of felt a bit sad, to be honest, for him. Like I didn't I kind of busted him up a little bit in the fight, and then just to see what happened afterwards, it was a bit it sort of it hurt, because he's an idol for mine for a long time.
G'day, Jake. You touched on feeling like an old man in the UFC, being 10 years now, but you're still young. It's a weird mix. Have you kind of spent some time thinking what does come after the UFC? Because 10 years is a long time, and I'm sure that's crossed your mind. Yeah,
look, I've got things like going on the side, lots of things like card breaking and a bunch of other things as well. But I haven't even considered like when I'd be retiring, because even though I say I feel like an old man in the UFC, been in there for this June will be 11 years. The passion and the motivation and the love for the sport is still just the same as when I was 19. So as long as the body lets me and as long as the UFC want me, I'll be here fighting. I don't want to be like an old 40-year-old that's getting bashed every fight. Like I'll probably pull the pin before then. I think these guys should finish on a good note and leave a good legacy. So that's my goal. But I still feel as much love for the sport as I ever have.
And it was mentioned earlier that you've got some training partners on the card. And Islam recently came out saying he refuses to fight on a card with his teammates on it now because it's a distraction. Do you think that's going to play an impact on your performance coming out, or you don't agree with what he said?
No, so it depends on the fighter. For me, I can separate. Like as I said, it's kind of a team vibe. Like we train together a few times a week. We're not there every session together. We don't really hang out like 24/7. But for me, on the fight night, the only fight that matters is mine. So like whether a teammate loses before the fight or whatever happens, it doesn't throw me off. It means nothing. Like it seems a bit selfish, but you kind of do have to be selfish. But it's a cold laser focus where, unless it was like my own brother in there losing before me, that would probably throw me off. But in terms of teammates, it's just I'll look at the screen. Oh, they lost. Okay, I'm up next. Let's go. And you have to have that. You can't, And he's right. If it did affect me, I would probably rather not fight on a card with my teammates.